Hi! Yay, Claribel's here! Hello, everybody. I'm just waiting for Claribel to get here, and then we'll get going. Actually, why don't I just introduce myself first while I wait for Claribel? Hold on. I realized I forgot to bring my books with me. Okay, I am back. So I'm Kat Cho. I am the author of Wicked Fox and Vicious Spirits. So these are the two books in my contemporary fantasy duology, and right now this week I am promoting Vicious Spirits because it just came out this week. It's the sequel / companion novel to Wicked Fox, and they are based on Korean mythology. God, I give this spiel so often, so I am so sorry if you've heard it a million times already, but Wicked Fox is based on Korean mythology of the Gumiho, which is a nine-tailed fox that has lived for a very long time and has enough power to now turn into a beautiful girl who can lure in her victims and devour them so that. And then Vicious Spirits is the companion and the sequel, and it is more with the Hi! Yay, Claribel's here! Hello. Oh, you're wearing your wig. I love it.
Well,
I got you
supposed to do wigs.
I got you mid-sip, girl. Claribel said she was going to be drinking boba, so I also made boba. So I'm very excited.
Hi, everyone.
Cheers, girl. You have to cheers me.
Cheers.
I was just giving everyone a little introduction to my books. So Vicious Spirits is the companion novel and sequel to Wicked Fox. So it continues the story of the main characters, Ji-hoon and Mi-young, who Mi-young is the fox, the Gumiho. But then it brings forward two side characters as main characters, and that's Junwoo and So-min. So they get more of a story, Claribel. They get more of a story in Vicious Spirits. And the new mythology that I present in Vicious Spirits is Dokebi, which is the Korean version of a goblin, but goblins in Korea are both scarier and sometimes sexier than the ones you're probably used to. And then the Josung Saja, which is a reaper. And yeah, I really enjoy playing with those myths. But welcome, Claribel!
Thank you. Hi. I really thought we were supposed to be wearing our wigs.
Oh, I feel so bad because I do have a wig, but I didn't wear it. I know, I love your wig though. Just keep it on.
It's staying on. I'm not taking this thing off.
For everyone joining us, hi Sarah, hi Janelle, hi May. For everyone joining us, we decided to have a theme for this Instagram Live, and our theme is sleepover party, which is not outside of the realm of what Claribel and I do on a regular basis. We just over to each other's apartments and sleep over and hang out.
And I wear a wig.
And she always wears a wig. I actually, fun fact, I don't know what Claribel's natural hair looks like because I've never seen her outside of a wig. So
nobody does.
But yeah, Claribel, why don't you introduce your book? Because Claribel, if anyone doesn't know, Claribel's also an author and she writes amazing middle grade.
Thank you. So my name is Claribel, or Ortega, and my book is Ghost Squad. And it's the story of 12-year-old Lucely Luna, who accidentally awakens some malicious spirits in the city of St. Augustine. And with the help of her best friend Sid, a fat cat named Chunk, and Sid's grandmother Babette, they have to send the evil spirits back into the underworld before the full moon on Halloween. And it's based on Dominican folklore.
Yay! I love this book so much.
I mean, thank you.
I've already told you. Like, I have tweeted Claribel during myself reading the book, or texted her, so she knows all of my feelings. But for everyone out there, I can say it's hilarious, which I love your sense of humor, so I don't know why I would ever be surprised that this book made me literally laugh out loud. But it's also so heartwarming. I love the families in this book, and it's also kind of scary. I mean, there's jokes.
It's technically horror. Like, it's technically middle grade horror, even though, like, I feel like it's not that scary. But I'm also not 12, so it's meant to be scary for, like, a younger audience, even though 12-year-olds have already told me, like, make the next one a little spookier.
I feel like 12-year-olds
okay.
are 12-year-olds are braver than me. Like,
They are.
So to be fair, like my fear factor is like you shouldn't go by me, most people. But
I mean, you know mine. I made you tell me the plot of Train to Busan when your whole family was watching it because I could not watch it myself. Like we escaped, like literally Kat's family was having a movie night. Like I went on vacation with Kat's family because that's the kind of friends we are, okay? And like everybody was like, we're gonna watch Train to Busan because we went to this ridiculous house that had like a movie theater in it, and then I was like, well, I'm not gonna watch that, but I want to know what it's about. So let's go in the hot tub and have drinks. And Kat, you just recreate the whole thing. It was like pitch black outside. It was nighttime, and we were both. I was really scared, and then out of nowhere, that cat jumped over the fence.
This creature jumped into the like fenced-in yard that we're in as I was like telling her like the scary ending of Train to Busan, and she was like, "Well, what is that?" So scared, but
so scared.
I mean, and the hot tub had these like changing neon color lights, and we turned them on because we're scared. Let's turn on all the lights, and it was literally like being in a hot tub time machine.
It was so cool, though. It was really cool.
Let's get into some writing conversation. Also, if anyone in the audience has questions, then you can put them in the chat, or you can put them in the little question box on the bottom. It has like a little question mark in it, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. But we also have a game. We're going to play Truth or Dare because this is a sleepover. And oh God, that's terrifying. We're going to play Truth or Dare, and my friend asked if she can write in some of her own truths or dares, and I said yes. So if you guys want to write in your own truths or dares, then you totally can. But
this is a terrifying filter.
I think that one's the first one you did was terrifying.
I have some really scary ones.
The thing is like I can't tell what the filter is gonna be. Whoa! I'm gonna be until I turn it on. This one's cute. Okay, wait. Let's stop playing with filters and actually ask each other questions. Well, first of all, tell me what you're working on next because I'm always excited on what you're working on.
So I can't. What I'm writing right now is I can tell. That's the only thing I can tell you about. Everything else I can't talk about. So right now I'm working on a young adult contemporary fantasy called Murder Cast and Cauldron, and it is about Dominican witches, which are they turn into giant birds of prey, and it's basically a story about a girl who's basically lives. Her family's in the mafia, like in the mafia, like in the magic world. So it's like magic mafia, and there are all these kids getting kidnapped throughout New York City, and her family is going to get blamed for it because they did dumb stuff before. So so the people in charge are like, hey, you guys have 21 days to find out who is doing this. Otherwise, you're going to pay the consequence. And since they've already paid the consequence twice, the third consequence is always death. And so they know that someone from their family is going to get killed if they don't find out who did it. And then there's a love triangle with 3 girls. And it's sort of like Holly Black's Curse Workers meets Killing Eve.
I love it so much.
Dual POV. I'm not gonna lie, it slaps.
Earlier, I was texting Claribel about this book because she told me about this idea like over a year ago when she first like wrote like the first chapter, and she sent me her like first chapter. And you guys, it was a first draft, and it was so good. So I've been waiting for this for over a year. But the other day I was talking to Claribel. I was like, I'm so excited you're almost done. And she's like, yeah, this book slaps. It's so good. And I was just like, you know what though? Do that, because we talked about this before. Like sometimes, you know, authors love to just like self-reject and put themselves down, and they're like, I'm writing a new book, but it probably sucks and I hate it already. And like I dated someone who was a writer as well, and I've told this story before, and I'm sure they don't mind me telling the story. And if they do, then whatever. Okay. But they love talking about their own writing, not in like a conceited way at all, just being
Right.
like, oh man, it was so fun to like play with blah blah blah, and they just get so into describing their process and like the joy they find in the process. That's what they
Right.
talk about. And I was like, you like talking about your own writing? And they were like, of course I do. That's why I write, because I love writing. And I was like, I love writing too, but like it's so hard for me to think that anything I wrote was ever good ever. And they were like, I know it's really hard because, you know, you're taught that, you know, to be humble in this industry, not to like overstate your skill. And also
Mhm.
at the end of the day, Claribel and I are both authors of color. So there's like cultural things there too, of being like, be
Right.
humble about your skills.
Right. We're taught it because of so many different like intersections. Like, oh, thank you, Allison. I love my wig too. We're taught before between all the different intersections, like being a woman of color, like be a person of color, like all of these things, right? To like make ourselves smaller. And then I think also
Mhm.
because a lot of young adult and kidlit is like predominantly like women writing it, like we're expected to like be really humble about the things that we write. Where you're not, nobody's telling like lit fiction like people to like, you know, like literary fiction people to like not downplay what they write. I mean, I can't speak for them, but I feel like there's a really big divide between like the old guard of like old white men who wrote those kinds of books and like us, you know, and like the
Mhm.
confidence level and like what we're allowed to think about ourselves. And like for us it's like, no, you can't be more than what we are allowing you to be. And I feel like there's a fine line between being like arrogant and being confident, and I think that's where
Mhm.
people get it mixed up. And I think that as long as you're not putting other people down when you're speaking about your own books and your confidence in your books, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and you should celebrate yourself, because there's going to be so many times in the industry where people are going to criticize you and tell you no. And if you're not your biggest cheerleader, you're either not going to make it or you're going to be like suffering the entire time, because you have to have like nerves of steel. You have to have the strongest confidence because you're constantly being beat down. So it's a skill like that you need to have as an author. And I think that people are starting to see past like that whole like, oh, be humble thing for like what it really is, which is like you like diminish yourself, right?
Yeah.
um and like I always say in one of my group chats, like we're getting rid of like little book energy, like no more of this like my little book stuff. Like
Yeah.
nobody's book is little. Like stop it. Like stop
My books are
dimin-
thick.
sick.
My books
She's
are thick.
sick.
So they're not little in any aspect. No, you know, I love that so much. And I just think like, also, how dare you have group chats without me? But fine, whatever. I know
Who
it's your group chat with
you?
Ryan.
You
But
have
like,
group chats without me.
I'm always thinking about you when I'm in those other group chats.
Well, who said I wasn't thinking about you?
No, I mean, but like, it's true. Like, honestly, can you imagine if we actually like hated our books as much as we pretend we do when we're talking about them on social media? Like, if like authors out there, if you actually hate your book as much as you're saying you do on Twitter, then like we need to have a talk. Like, that's not okay and that's not healthy. um,
Pete, I'm always thinking about you. That's my friend Pete. He said, "Who's thinking about me though?" I
oh,
am.
sorry, Pete. Okay, we do have a question from someone.
Yay!
Bon Bon Van Dorp says, how many manuscripts did you both write before you were published? Claribel.
I wrote a picture book about a witch who couldn't use the potty called Broomhilda Goes Potty, which I still want to publish one day. And Susie said we could. And then I wrote Witches, Punks, and Cursed Things, which is like my first YA and the book that I like wrote and got my agents with and everything. It's
Mhm.
actually a prequel to the book that I talked about
Oh.
before. Change strategies. So technically two, a picture book and then a young adult one. But the young adult one I worked on for literal years because it was my
Mhm.
first like full length novel and I had to learn how to write.
Mhm.
And I was taking my time, I was doing research, I was building a world. It was my first process doing that. So it took me like 4 or 5 years of writing the same book over and over again, revising it over and over again. But yeah, two is my Final answer.
For counting only, I'm eating boba. Okay, counting only the books that I wrote when I was like, I want to try to get published. Because I wrote like all of these like chapter books and stuff when I was in like high school, middle school, but those don't really count. But I wrote my first book that came to me in a dream. It came to me.
Of course it did.
Stephanie Meyer Twilight Style. And I camped the bejesus out of that one. It was so bad. I was like dystopian, love triangles, amnesia, like bad government doing like secret things to citizens, like all of that stuff, every trope. And I loved it so deeply, but it was bad. And
it sounds fun though.
Oh my God, it was so fun. It was so fun. And I, but then I had so much fun writing that I was like, I want to get published, but this book is like everything that publishing is saying they don't want right now. And at that time, like, I didn't know about like, we need diverse books and all that stuff. So then I wrote a space opera that was Dune meets Princess Mononoke.
I don't know what Princess Mononoke is. I know what Dune is.
I know. I'm disappointed every time you remind me that you don't know what Princess Mononoke is. We'll watch it at our next sleepover.
Okay.
But and then Shane! Hi! I haven't talked to you, Shane, in like over a year. Shane's my old friend from my old job though. Hey buddy. Okay. And then I tried to write a middle grade that was an alien invasion of Earth from the aliens' point of view. And then
I actually think that would be cool.
It was like a middle grade humorist. Like they were like, why do you call Wednesday Hump Day? It's so flat and boring. I thought it was so funny, like writing that book. And then I finally wrote Gumiho Wicked Fox. And so, that's 4. It was my 4th book. But Wicked Fox took me the longest to write. And I think that's very indicative maybe even of why our books that we ended up signing agents with were the hardest, because they were like books that were the books of our hearts, and they incorporated our culture for the first time, probably for me at least. And I was like, this is so much responsibility. And I was so scared. And so I took so much time before I let anybody read it because I was so scared. But then now it's a book.
Now it's a completed duology. Not just a book. It's like a whole series. It's amazing.
I know. But yeah, okay. Do you want to start our Truth or Dare game?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so so Claribel and I are gonna play Truth or Dare because this is our sleepover. And so Claribel, Truth or Dare?
Dare.
All right. So I have a preset list, you guys, that I made. So choose a number 1 through 10. Or 1 through 10.
2.
Okay, I dare you to tweet, I farted right now.
Well, how can I tweet when I'm on Instagram?
Oh, get your computer.
Oh.
Get your laptop.
David.
Okay, you have to do it.
Oh, I found it. I will do it.
I'm so excited.
This is gonna be so great. Watch it get like 500 likes too.
This is so great. Everyone watching this has to go to Twitter and like this tweet. I expect it to be.
I'm gonna add an emoji. I'm gonna add like the squiggly mouth emoji.
Yeah, do it, girl. This is so great.
Done.
No contact.
I did it. I'm never deleting it. It's my finest hour.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
The worst part is that Lin-Manuel follows me. He's gonna see that.
I can't wait for him to see this. Okay. I'm gonna do truth, but you can choose the number. Choose a number between 1 and 11.
7.
Okay. All right. Oh my God, this is kismet. When was the most inappropriate time you farted? I used to have a really bad stomach when I was little, honestly. Like I had bad stomach pains. So I would fart and pull up all the time. And I think like I can't remember one specific time. But I definitely do remember that oftentimes like we would go out to eat, and then on the way home my dad would be like, who wants to go to the bookstore? Because my dad was so good at getting us books, and we would always be like, yeah, because anytime we could go shopping we wanted to. And so I farted in like every bookstore in Central Florida probably, because I would be there right after I ate, and I would be like, and I remember being like 9 years old and I would want to go to a section where no one was in, so I would go to that section where they would have like the puzzles and stuff and no one ever was in there, and I would just like go in the corner and fart, and then
at least you tried to like hide and you weren't like just like farting like in the wind in front of everyone. Like you tried to like go somewhere at least, you know?
That's true. I was trying to be thoughtful of people. I really was.
And what else can you do? If you gotta fart, you gotta fart.
I mean, and also like, you know, so young, and if you have stomach problems, like it's probably really unhealthy to try to hold it in. So like, I would just go somewhere and do it. Like, it's just how I was.
How did this happen to your book launch? This is great.
I know. I hope someone joined right as I was telling that story.
Like, I'm sure they did. Excuse me. Who knows what's happening on my Twitter right now? How about that? Okay.
Okay, we have a question we can answer before we do another round. Sarah Smiles asks, I review books, but I also want to be a published author. I don't bash books, but I'm worried it's distasteful that I compliment and point out book flaws. So I think it's mostly like advice about that.
So what I would say is, I don't think that, I know plenty of people who were bloggers first and now are authors, and it's fine. I think when people start to feel uncomfortable is when they know that they were maybe mean in some of their reviews. So like if you're worried about that, because also like I don't ever want to tell a blogger like don't be honest about a review, or like don't call out racism in a review or like something like that, you know. But if you're worried about like, put it this way, if you want to be a published author, all the people that you're writing about, you are going to encounter at some point. So if you wouldn't feel comfortable being face to face with that person and having to maybe interact with them and saying the thing that you're saying in the review, then maybe like think about how you can word it so that it's not mean, you know, like, and again, when it comes to things like problematic books, like I wouldn't even know what to say there, because like I feel like people shouldn't have to censor themselves in that way. Unfortunately, yeah, it might affect you because publishing sucks sometimes, and like there's a lot of people who are going to judge you based on those things. But to be honest with you, I say stuff all the time on Twitter that like I'm sure a lot of people don't agree with, because I speak out on a lot of topics. It just depends on what you're willing to sort of like the consequences that you're willing to like face for being able to speak your mind. And when it comes to just like reviewing a book, like honestly, I think you're fine. Like as long as you're not like, this author is ugly and they fart in the children's section, then you're gonna be okay. Like you're gonna be fine. And you know, there's plenty of people that I've seen, and like sometimes it does take, like one thing to have in mind, it does take sometimes people do a transition when they're bloggers and they become authors. Like they stop doing book reviews because they feel uncomfortable and because it's your colleagues and there's sort of a conflict of interest there, and it's kind of weird. So just keep that in mind, that the people that you are reviewing are going to be your colleagues. So just always have that in the back of your mind when you're writing the reviews. I think that's what I would say. It's such a tricky thing though, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I had a blog and I reviewed books before I became an author. I think a lot of us kind of did, even if it wasn't like officially on a blog, like we were part of the community. So we'd be like, I recommend this 4 out of 5 stars, blah, 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 before we realized like how much authors spiral when it's anything less than a 5-star. But that's not your responsibility either. So like no reviewer should ever feel responsible for an author going out of their way to read reviews and then feeling a certain way about it. There is a different conversation about tagging authors in reviews, but I'm sure that that's not what this is about. This is about like in your own, you know, on your own blog, on your own social media, you're allowed to have your space. And so my personal philosophy when I had a blog and I was reviewing books, and I knew that I wanted to get published, I decided that if I didn't like a book, I just wasn't going to talk about it. And that was my personal decision. I was like, I would, and I think the thing is, like, part of it is you have a responsibility to the people who follow your reviews. They follow it to find out what they should read because they like your taste and they like your reviews. And so my philosophy was like, if that's why they're following me, then I will tell them exactly what I like, but I won't tell them what I don't like. And so it was more like I had enough content because I like a lot of books. So I was like, yeah, if I'm reviewing a book, it's very possible it's because I liked it. And I would give it 4 or 5 stars. I still gave 4 stars sometimes. And now looking back, I was like, I was so mean. But but if I couldn't give it 4 or 5 stars, honestly, then I would just like quietly be like, that's not my taste, but I don't need to talk about it outside of my private friend chats and outside of my private book clubs. Like, that's not something I want as my content. But of course, that was a personal decision. Like, in no way should that be what everyone does. It's just what I felt the most comfortable with. And as in terms of like, if you want to point out something that like didn't work for you, I think that you might feel more comfortable if you're framing it in like, listen, this is my opinion and this is what works for me and this is so subjective. So it could be like, so I think instead of being like instead of saying phrases like the only negative, the only bad thing, the like thing that brought it down, you could instead say, I personally don't love love triangles, so I didn't get into that in this book, but that's just my personal taste. Or you can phrase it like, in my opinion, I haven't necessarily read, you know, an enemies to lovers that really stuck with me, so I didn't get into that aspect of the book, but it is just what it is for me, but I still really enjoyed it. I feel like framing it from like, it's my subjective perspective as opposed to like, this is a negative about the book, you know, might make it easier.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it just depends on the person. Like you kept saying, it's a personal decision. So, because I don't think we would ever want to like discourage people from being honest about reviews, but you just have to be cognizant of what that means for you later on. And that some people in publishing are petty and like, it's annoying.
we can't pretend. We can't tell you that no one's going to come to you and be like, oh, you're the person who wrote that mean review. We can't promise that. But if you were respectful the whole time, then that's their problem, not your problem. So it is what it is.
Right. That's why I said, like, don't say anything you wouldn't say to that person.
To their face.
To their face. Yeah. If you feel okay saying that to them, cool. But if you would feel uncomfortable being at BookCon and having to confront that person, then that's kind of a problem in general, you know, like not just for reviews. So I think it applies.
Yeah. Okay, let's do another round. Claribel, truth or dare?
I'll do truth this time.
All right. Pick a number 1 through 10.
7. Don't make noises. Just tell me what it is.
Oh, what is your dream promo activity for your book?
Dream promo activity? So, like a TV interview or like a something like that.
Anything that is like a dream thing that like you know would be difficult to do, but you love to do it.
Well, okay. So can I say one that's like totally unrealistic? Only because like, it wouldn't even fit in the genre. Okay, so this would never happen because they don't ever do this. But I would love to be on My Favorite Murder or like have Georgia or Karen on Write or Die. That could actually happen because they did write a book. That's like my dream.
I would love them. I'm like you too.
Yeah, I mean, because we started like one of the reasons like why we wanted to do the podcast together, for those of you who don't know, we are the hosts of Write or Die. Go follow us and subscribe and do all that fun stuff. Was because we love My Favorite Murder so much. Like we even saw them live and like we cried.
We cried. We were
like, we're big fans. Like, we're murderinos. Like, for real. We were like, there was a lot of wine also, but still, I feel like we would have cried anyway.
Claribel loves them so much that she when we went to get our drinks before the show, she was like, I'm not leaving again to get another drink. I'm not going to miss any of the show. So she said to the person, I'm buying 2 glasses of wine, but can you just pour into 1 glass, because I'm just going to have this 1 mega glass that I carry, because I'm not leaving the show.
That's a pro tip for shows though. Like if you go to a show, you don't want to miss anything, or you know there's always going to be a line at the bar. Have them pour a double in that baby, and then you don't have to get up unless you have to pee, which that's another problem. But at least you don't have to take 2 detours, you know, like get another glass and go to the bathroom. Just have to get up once, maybe.
Okay, I'm gonna do a dare this time. So you pick a number for me, 1 through 8.
1. Oh, I think it's bad. Tell me.
Dance to a song of the other person's choosing.
Oh man, you know what song I'm gonna pick? I'm gonna pick WAP.
Okay, you play it.
The clean version. All right, let me get my computer.
You play it and I'll dance to it. Let me push this guy my phone back so I can stand up. Oh my gosh. You guys, I mean, I'm gonna try to keep this PG though, because like I don't know he's in.
It's the clean version. Don't worry.
Clean version, okay. You guys ready? I'll dance with my book. You guys are gonna.
Let me make sure that there's an ad playing. I don't have YouTube Red. I'm not rich. Not yet. Let me just make sure while it's like low.
For everyone who's waiting, check out.
Yeah, this is a good one.
I'm not a good dancer. I need to get this out ever.
This is amazing. You gotta do the challenge with the split.
Okay, all right. That's it. I think that's enough.
That was amazing.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm tired. That's a little bit tiring. That was my exercise for the day. I haven't done exercise yet. Okay. Let's answer some more questions.
Yeah.
Katie asks, how can I be as cool as you guys?
I get that question all the time.
You're super cool. You're like freaking cool, man.
The best thing to do to be cool is just be yourself and not worry about what other people think as much as possible. That's really hard to do. That's so hard to do. Because we're human. We want people to like us, right?
I need external validation like it's nobody's business. But okay, here's the thing though, is that I used to not be able to admit that. So at least I'm getting better, because like I used to be like, I don't care what people think about me, but do you like me? And like, but at least now I can be like, listen, I do care if you like me, but if you don't like me, then I'll handle it, because like
you'll be okay.
I need to get over it. So yeah, it's like it's less like just full on don't care what people think, and just like constantly remind yourself that like other people's opinions are not the end all be all.
Yeah. And that it's cool to be earnest, and like to be like, it's okay for you to be vulnerable too. Like I think a lot of times like we don't want to show that emotion. We think that's what makes somebody cool, when really it's just going with the flow of like what happens to you, right? So whatever happens, like you just deal with it in like your human natural way, and like that is enough. Like that is cool, because like you're cool. Like everybody's really cool just like from being themselves. And I think when we're not cool is like when we try to be something that we're not, and I think that becomes really transparent at some point. And I learned that lesson the hard way. Like when I remember when I moved from the Bronx to Westchester in high school, and I had to get up during my English class, and they were like, tell us about yourself. And I lied so much. Like I was like, oh yeah, I ride horses.
Wait, why would you lie about that?
Well, Well, because I was like, these are like rich kids, right? Like I thought everybody was rich, which is completely not true. But for me, coming from the inner city to like moving to the suburbs, like that was
Mhm.
my assumption, right? And so I was like, these people must ride horses because like that
Mhm.
was like my understanding. And like, so I said all these things that I thought people would want to hear, right? And you know what's
Mhm.
the craziest part of it? One of the
Mhm.
most popular cheerleaders was in the class and she was like, oh, you should come sit with me at lunch. It freaking worked. That's the worst part.
Oh no! Did
And
she ask you about your horses?
she didn't because I didn't even sit with her because I was like, she seems weird.
Mhm.
My instinct was right. She was weird. But you know, it's like I learned if I could do high school over again, like I would have been myself like authentically from the beginning. I eventually got there during high school, but like I was really cool already, like just with like the things that I
Okay.
really did. But that's like anybody, right? Like anybody who has like interest in stuff. Like I think they're cool. I ride horses. Yeah, I was a horse girl. I was a fake horse girl, and I thought that was gonna make me cool, and it freaking worked. But
Oh my gosh.
just being myself was way more effective, and it was way more fun and like less hard. Because like if you're
Mhm.
pretending to be somebody that you're not, it's like Mara. I agree that horses suck.
Mara,
I don't trust
we had
them.
to talk. Horses can't. Horses aren't the ones who suck. It's the people who love horses that suck. The horses can't help it.
Well, their eyes are like here, all right? So
They didn't ask for that. God gave them that, or whoever created.
we don't know for
That's true.
sure.
We don't know who gave them those eyes. I have another question that's more appropriate to writing. Do either of you have an MFA? Allison asks, do either of you have an MFA or have considered doing an MFA, and what are your thoughts on those programs? Neither of us have one.
No.
I have a master's, but it's not in writing or anything. But I've never considered it either because you don't need to have an MFA to be a published writer. I think that an MFA is more useful in academia. Like if you eventually want to be a professor of creative writing, then yes, definitely go get an MFA. But like I know a lot of like adult fiction writers too who are published and they don't have one either. I think my if I was to have an issue with MFA from my perspective of being a kidlit author, it's that there are very few MFA programs that concentrate on that age category, and therefore, it's unless you're going to one of the ones for writing for young people, then it might not be applicable to your writing if you're doing young adult, middle grade,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
The ones for writing for young people that I've heard of are lovely. There's one at Lesley. There's Vermont College has one. New School has one. So I have heard of ones that people have really liked, and they're supposedly, most of them are supposedly low residency, which means like you're only on campus like 2 months out of the semester, and the rest of the time you could be at home, which is great because especially if you have a full-time job.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that getting an MFA isn't for everybody. It's definitely it definitely depends on like what kind of a person and what kind of a learner you are. Like if you're the type of person who you want to have guidance on how to figure out your storytelling, and you honestly it's just not getting through to you with like your own self-study and reading books on your own and writing craft books on your own, then yeah, look into an MFA. But it costs money, so I think that's a factor too. So like
yeah, I have considered doing an MFA like after I already had an agent, only because I'm interested in like learning more and like going to school for it because I want to, not because like I feel like I have to do it for any specific reason. And I think that's like the best reason to do it, and aside from like being a professor, because it really doesn't guarantee anything in terms of like getting into publishing, being published, or if somebody asked about working in publishing, you definitely don't need it. And like publishing does not pay a lot of money. So it's a big decision to make. And I think that it has to be something that comes from your heart because you really want to do it and you're interested in it. I'm actually thinking about applying for next year for NYU's program just because like I feel like going back to school and I think it's really interesting and awesome. But not because of anything else. Like I'm already published, you know what I mean? And I did all of that with just my bachelor's. So yeah, Kat's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I see a follow-up question in the chat from Allison. Does it help to get into working in publishing? And Shelley already answered this, but
Yeah,
no, I mean, not in any way that's measurable that I've ever seen. So like if it does help, then it's so negligible, and it's like maybe it helped one person because they randomly like had a professor who really cared about their career and helped them out. But like there is a Columbia College certificate, like a summer certificate course in working in publishing that I know a lot of people have done. But the most helpful thing that I've heard from that one is the networking you get from it. But you can network in publishing outside of having to pay money to a university for that.
Go to book launches.
You could go to, yeah. I know that it's hard to do outside of like the hubs of publishing. So if you don't live in New York, yeah, it is harder to in-person network, totally. But hopefully we're seeing publishing companies this year realize that remote work is totally viable and doable. So we're really hoping that we'll see more remote paid internships. Yeah. Also, I mean, this is a completely different, longer conversation. Maybe we'll talk about this on Write or Die, but there's so much unpaid labor that people have to go through in order to get into this industry, and it's really messed up. But we'll probably do this as a conversation on Write or Die. Yeah.
Also, hi to my cousin Slater is here. Hi,
Slater. Hi. Let's do another round, Claribel.
All right.
Dare.
I'll do dare.
Okay, so we do have a dare suggestion in the question. Do you want to do that one, or do you want to do one from the chart?
Ooh, I'll do the suggestion.
Okay, so the suggestion is from Janella, and she says, pitch a fave recent read, but do it in song.
All right. At first, I have to think of what I've read lately. Okay. So I'll pitch Bedazzled by Ryan LaSala, which is really good. Contemporary. I guess it's romance, right? It's like a romance. It's contemporary about oh wait, I have to sing it.
You're so good at making songs. Come on.
Well, I have to think of what I'm gonna say first. Of course, Janella would make me sing. Janella sings like a freaking angel, by the way. She literally sings like she sings like a Disney princess.
She's literally in the chat acting like the Phantom of the Opera right now. Asking you to sing for her. Oh, you've never seen Phantom of the Opera?
I haven't. I've never seen Phantom of the Opera, but we did play a game about it on Write or Die.
Okay, how about I'll do mine while you think of your song?
Oh, I was just gonna do it off the top of my head.
Okay, do it.
Okay. Bedazzled is about two boys who break up and have to compete with each other and make stuff, and it's cute, and it's based on Ryan's ex-boyfriend, Sal. I mean, he dedicated the book to him. It's in the, it says, his dedication is so cute. It says, for Sal, because duh.
Aw, I feel like it's nice that you went with jazz as like the one that you wanted.
That's what came to me. That's what inspired me.
I want to do a dare.
I think it's the wig.
Yeah, for sure. I want to do a dare too, so pick a number 1 through 7 for me.
All right, hold on, because I have to get my light. You guys can see my robe. Woo.
But yeah, everyone should definitely pre-order Bedazzled, but Ryan has a book out now called Reverie, so check that one out because it's amazing, and it has like an evil drag queen, which is really cool and amazing.
Yeah, Posey. I love Posey.
Okay.
Mara said I gave her the old razzle dazzle. I did.
You really did. All right, pick a number 1 through 7 for me.
1 through what?
7.
5. Whoa, I look like a shaggy dog. My wig is like, it flew to Alabama. I ripped my own wig off singing.
Use charades to act out a book title until the other person can guess.
Oh, I love this one. Oh, I love this one so good.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah. Seven words? Okay. You, hold on, my light is being crazy. You, see me Oh, you should see me in a crown.
Yes! We're so good at this. I just started reading it. It's so good and cute. It's so
Everybody
good.
should go get that by Leah Johnson, iconic icon who was picked as the first YA pick for Reese's book club. Amazing.
It's so sweet and funny and like, but it's also like meaningful and like it's so nuanced of like a story about this girl dealing with so many different aspects of like her life. And there's a side story that is starting up right now because I'm in the middle of reading it, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be like a friend breakup kind of a storyline, and I love those.
Friend breakups are no joke.
Yeah.
No joke.
So like I'm really excited to see where this goes because I'm very intrigued about like what's going to happen. But so good. Yeah. Let's see if we have a really good question. I actually really want to answer this. If Shelly asks, if you two had a Freaky Friday sitch, what would y'all do?
Oh, like switch places?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so weird. I don't know what can it be non-pandemic times?
Yeah. You can go out and do anything you want.
I'd go hang out with your family. And be like, oh, what do you guys think about Claribel? Like the whole time.
They would tell you now. My brother-in-law, who is like this, I mean, he has a great sense of humor, but he's kind of like a serious lawyer. Sometimes we'll like be like talking about something and someone will say either the word ghost or the word squad, and he'll turn to them and be like, have you checked out Ghost Squad by Claribel Ortega? Always his response to anyone saying either of those words is, have you checked out Ghost Squad by Claribel Ortega?
I love his consistent promo of me. It's amazing.
He just thinks I think he thinks it's hilarious, but he also really likes you, so there's that.
Yeah, I think I would just hang out with your family and like troll Beth a whole bunch.
So nothing different than what I already do. No one would expect that I'm not me.
I would tweet I farted a whole bunch.
You chose that number. It's not my fault that you chose that number.
Okay, what would you do?
I would make David cook me a lot of food. For sure. I would be like,
smart.
I'm hungry again. So I would like constantly be asking him. I would like squeeze Pancho so hard. Again, I do all this anyway though.
It's what I do.
I know. What would I do?
Would you speak Spanish?
I would speak so much Spanish.
Would we be able to do that though? Like if
no,
I guess not, right?
Brain. I have my brain. No. You know what I would do though is that I would write little notes to you and leave them around your apartment so you could find them when you're you again.
Like Memento, but like
yeah. Well, like, I would leave like a little scavenger hunt for you to find once you're in your body again.
I love it. See, mine was just like, I want to enjoy Cat's life, so I'm just gonna do all the things that I like. I
don't know. Okay. I think we have time for another truth or dare round. You want to do truth or dare?
I'll do truth.
I think we have. Do you want to do the truth in the chat or the truth on the? From my.
Let's give the people what they want. I'll do the chat truth.
You're just mostly giving Janella what she wants. What is your least favorite things about your characters?
See, this is really hard for me. I can't answer this about like Lucelli and Sid because nothing. Like, I don't have a least favorite thing. They're 12. So any flaws they have are just like, I guess I will go with like the YA character that I'm writing right now, whose name is Grim. Grim doesn't share her true feelings almost ever. She covers everything in humor. Okay. And I think if I were her friend, that would really annoy me because I like talking about things. And she just sort of like brushes things off a lot to her friends. Like, we see her interior, so we know she's freaking out about stuff, but like what she shows the outside is like just like, meh, it's fine. And I think that that's like my least favorite part of her, but it's an important part of her. Someone said coming in the middle of this combo was very confusing.
Of
You
us
didn't.
freaking Friday.
It could have been worse during the fart
It was
situation.
bad. Or coming in the middle of me dancing to WAP.
That was iconic. I'm so happy that happened.
Okay, I'll do truth as well. So pick a number 1 through 9 for me.
8.
What is the weirdest thing you've done to promo your book? What isn't it? The thing is like my interpretation of weird is different than other people's. Like I have a higher tolerance for weird stuff.
Yeah.
What if I dressed up as my character?
That's not weird. That's cute.
That's not weird? Okay. I don't know. What have I done?
We stayed at a haunted Airbnb. Does that count?
I
guess that's not.
I'll do another
Well,
one. Pick another one for me. That one wasn't good.
Number 9. It was 1 through 9, right?
Oh, what's a hyped classic book that you hate?
Oh, that's easy.
So many of them, you guys. So many. Any of the ones written by old white dead guys.
Any of them.
Any of them. I feel bad because like I don't think this is very interesting for people, but because these aren't like surprising questions. So how about we'll answer an audience question of I have several started projects, but I can't finish them. What should I do? This is from Sam. Oh, Sam Difference. I like your handle, your profile name.
That is the thing that I feel like a lot of people run into, right? Like, what do I work on? I guess like it's different if you're on contract because you've got to work on that one. But for me, I work on the story that I can't stop thinking about, or the story that would be maybe the easiest to finish, the one where you have a plot mapped out and you could write quickly. That way you can get to the other ones. The good thing about it is if you decide like this is the one that I'm going to work on right now and you end up not being happy with it, there's nothing wrong with you switching to another project. I think it could be hard though to find like that focus to work on one thing, but that is like a muscle you have to exercise like often in publishing because there's a lot of temptation to work on something that you're not on deadline for. Like there's nothing more tempting than working on a new project when you're supposed to be working on something else. So learning to like focus and say like this is the thing that I'm going to follow through on and finish is like important. But at the same time, like I get not wanting to like waste your time.
Yeah. Oh.
I think the important thing is just to sort of know that no matter what you spend your time on, it's not really a waste of time because you're becoming a better writer and you're gaining skills with everything that you work on. So just like go with your heart, go with the thing that you can't stop thinking about or that keeps calling to you or that you think about the most. That's what I would do if you can.
Yeah, I think the problem is when you're first starting out writing too, is that you don't realize that there are some very not fun parts about writing a book. Because writing is fun, especially when you're first getting into it and you have your idea at first. Because I don't know about everyone's process, but for me, like I'll often write the scenes that I'm most excited about first, because I hate waiting for gratification. I'm like, I'm gonna write the kiss scene first. But so there's always gonna be a scene where it's not fun to write, and it could be because it's a really hard scene to write, or it could be because like it's certain parts of like world building that you're like I have to get through this in order to get to like the fun stuff. But I think the thing is that you need to give your permission to like write shit, you know, when you get to those moments. Like write a shitty chapter for that. If it's not fun for you, I totally get it, but like so much of writing is revising, and so you can't revise a blank page though. And like I can guarantee you that both Wicked Fox and Vicious Spirits, there's only about like 30% in there that's from the first draft at most. For Wicked Fox, I would say like closer to 20% is in there from the first book. And that's because I revised it so much because I was like, this scene is not good. And even scenes that I loved writing, I deleted them if they didn't work for the story. That's like, we call like kill your darlings.
Yeah.
So I know that it really freaking stinks that you're like slow down on momentum. But if you're not in the category, which Claribel was saying, if you're not in the category of it being like, it just isn't the story of your heart and you know it, and you're at the point where you're like, I know that this isn't a story that I want to finish, then try to power through. And I would say, like, even if you're trying to, even if part of you is saying, like, I don't think this is story of my heart, like, maybe try to power through for a few days before you give up on it, just in case, because as creatives, like, we're fairly temperamental in our emotions when it comes to our projects. So it could pass, you know, but it's, yeah, writing isn't fun all the time. Sometimes you have, it's work. I mean, it's our jobs. It's our work. So like sometimes I'll be like, I don't want to write the school scene, but it won't establish her friend relationships if I don't. So I have to do it.
Right. Now, one thing that might help also, if you haven't already done this, is to write a synopsis for each of your projects, because then you'll have an idea of the plot for each one and whether or not you actually have a handle on it. Therefore, finding like which one would actually be easier for you to write. And also, like, maybe you'll end up writing a synopsis for a book and being like, oh, I'm actually really excited to like get to the end of this or to get to this part. So you could hype yourself up about it. So I would suggest that as like an exercise for you to do to maybe help you weed out like which one you should work on right now.
I'd also say, like, I know, especially if you're just starting out and you're like, I'm playing around with like trying to find the story that I can write a full book for. Try to find critique partners, try to find a community. I mean, even if it's just like your cousin who's your alpha reader, like find somebody who you can be like, can I just talk to you for 10 minutes about what's troubling me about this story? Because then it just kind of helps you have a sounding board. And for me, a lot of the times, like I'll be like, Claribel, I don't know if I like this character. And she'll be like, what? And I'll start explaining it. And then as I'm explaining, I'll be like, oh no, wait, I understand what I need to do now. Just hearing yourself talk.
Yep.
So
that's so important. So true.
You can't, if you can't on your own remotivate yourself, then it's always nice to have a friend or a few friends that you can help you re-find that joy as well. And so it's really good to have community. Hi, Louis. Hi, thanks for joining us from Venezuela. That's so sweet. I love this.
Hold on. Let me get my charger really quick because my phone is scaring me. I'll be right back.
Claribel. Okay, I'll try to find more questions as we wait for her and say hi to people because apparently more people have joined us. Oh, Nina. Oh, Nina, you missed me dancing, but I'm going to try to put this on IGTV. So if anyone is like, what is this part story they're talking about, then you can watch on IGTV, hopefully. Hi, Carla. Thanks for joining us from Mexico. That's so cool. Lauren, hi. Hi, Nafi. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Z. Ah! Okay. Let's see. Fair. This is a fair question because like you are not sure, you know, if you only know someone from the internet. I'm answering Sarah's question. How do you find a trustworthy online community? And I think like it's fair to be like, oh, internet people are scary because I don't know them in real life. Like, I mean, if you were a child that grew up anytime in the 90s, your parents definitely were like, don't meet strangers from the internet.
Right.
But I think that the writing community has so much presence on social media and on the internet that I think that it's totally fine to just kind of like watch the conversations happen for a couple weeks until you feel comfortable before you jump into it. But once you do feel comfortable, start to just like reply to people's cool stuff on Twitter. We only have 30 seconds remaining. Start to reply to people on Twitter, start to see like if you just have the same sense of humor, get along with them. There's forums. I don't know, Claribel, do you feel comfortable starting another Insta Live to kind of do some goodbye? Okay. Right. So let's finish answering this question because I do think it's really important. Sarah had asked us in the last IG Live How do you find a trusted community, writing community online though? So
Right.
what do you think, Claribel?
So I think like what Kat said was really good. Like be a part of the community and like talk to people like on Twitter before you dive into anything deeper. Um, get to know people on that sort of like surface level,
Mm-hmm.
and you can. The way that I did it was that way. Like I was on Twitter, then I tried to get into like different contests like Pitch Wars, and I made group chats with like the other people who are uh sort of like going through the same processes I was, and like from that like we made like smaller group chats like of people who like actually got along, like you find your people eventually. Like one thing that you shouldn't get discouraged if like you don't get along with everyone right
Mm-hmm.
away. If you have problems with some people, like that's gonna happen, like that's normal. It takes a while to like not just find your community, but like find like your like right people who you're going to get along with and understand you and you gel well with. And that might take a little bit of like trial and error when it comes to the writing community. I think it can feel like our friendships can feel really um, close really fast because we have this common thing from the very beginning, which is that we love writing and we love books. Um, so sometimes it can feel like this accelerated thing and you can end up like trusting people like really quickly, but I think definitely take your time before you completely like trust someone with like all of your information, because like um not everybody's out there to like has your best interest at heart, unfortunately. But just the same way that you would make friends in real life, being cautious and taking your time with stuff, like do the same thing online with writing friends, because sometimes it could just feel like, oh my god, we're so close like so quickly, and it's like, yeah, you both love the same thing. Like you are, it's like fandom too, like you're starting off from this place of like obsession about like Star Wars or whatever, so of course you have tons of stuff in common, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be a good match to be friends. So just take your time, like be really cautious about like how much you share with people, until you really get to know them well. That's my advice.
Yeah, and I think what I really love what you said was the idea of like you should be able to take your time getting to know these people like you would any friend in any other outside situation. Like, when you're going to college for the first time and you're meeting new people and you're trying to make friends there is always that like excitement in orientation week because it's like you're living away from home sometimes for the first time and like there's these people and you have something in common because you all are going to the same university and you end up like really glomming onto people. But I can say like the people that I became friends with my orientation week of freshman year are the people that I graduated being the closest with.
Mm,
But that's fine too. It's like I feel like we kind of get it twisted a little bit sometimes because this isn't just a social community, it's a business community. And so you feel so bad. You're like, oh, I was talking to like Steve and we were friendly and now I just don't think like we write the same style and we have the same like career goals. So like I just don't like gel with him, but I don't want him to think I don't like him. What if I see him at BookCon or something? But like if Steve is, professional, then he should be totally fine with you guys like cordially parting ways. And I think that we spend so much of our time caring so much what people think of us and how they react to us and how they react to what we do. But if you can say to yourself honestly that at the time you did everything you could to be professional and polite within the context of the situation, then I don't think you should have any regret.
right.
Um, I feel like it is really hard. And I think also there are people who like I was much closer to when I first started my writing journey and now they're more acquaintances of mine, but I still love seeing them.
Right.
But
Yeah,
I
it
see
doesn't
them
mean
like
you're not
once a
close.
year.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also like there's a lot of jealousy that happens in this industry, and it's hard to find people who are okay. I wouldn't say hard. Yeah, it's hard to find people who are okay with you doing better than them too. Like
Mhm.
that's not for everybody. Some people have a really hard time seeing their friends reach the goals that they wanted to reach first, and like that can also be an issue when it comes to finding friends. So it's really important to find someone who supports you, and who you can support no matter where you guys are. Because just because you start off in the same place doesn't mean that you're going to keep in the same trajectory and like reach milestones at the same time. It might be completely different, it might be the same. And it's good to find people that are okay with that, that will be able to root for you. And on the other side of it, you'll be able to understand when somebody's frustrated about their own career without, you know, taking it out on you. Obviously, if someone's like making you feel bad because you're succeeding, like that's a problem. But like if they're just frustrated because they haven't gotten there yet, it's important for you to take that into account also, and to like be cognizant of the fact that like, hey, like I'm complaining about you know, my agent not getting me the $1 million that I wanted. Meanwhile, my friend is still trying to get an agent. And you want a friend that's going to be able to handle that, but also you as the person who's like ahead should be cognizant of the fact that like they had a hard week. So maybe I'm just going to wait a couple of days before I tell them this thing, you know, just like be aware of it. You know, you should be able to share everything with your friends. But you should be really careful about when you share it, and like that you're not hurting each other either, because it's hard. It gets really, really tough.
Yeah, and I think the thing is like you also shouldn't freak out if you have a bump in the road with your friend.
Right.
I think the problem sometimes is that we're so afraid of admitting that like what somebody else did upset us, or some like that, or admitting that we have professional jealousy of our friends, that we keep it to ourselves. And when you keep it to yourself, it like gets bottled up, and then it kind of twists and morphs, and it might come out later in a different way, and like it'll be like, what's this, where's this coming from? And you have to like kind of trail it back to like where it originated. And one of the things that I really like, and this is, and again, everyone's process is different, but from personal experience, what I have learned to do, and I did not start out doing this, was that if there's something going on with a friend of mine in this industry, because we're coworkers and friends, I'll be like, hey, how are you feeling? How are you doing today? And they'll be like, oh, I'm good. I'm like, so is it okay? Can we talk about something? And they'll be like, yeah. So I check in with them first, see if they're doing okay. Don't want to pile on. And then I'm like, hey, you know, I love to like have like talk to you about something, like really quickly. It's nothing super big, but like I wanted to run something by you. I've done this with you before, Claribel, and then we'll get on the phone, or we'll still do it on Slack chat or GChat. And I just like bring it up in an honest way. And I think that there have been times where, like, you know, I've brought up something to Claribel, or Claribel brought something up to me, and I have to admit there have been times where my first reaction is to get defensive. I would never do that. I would never want you to feel like that. But we talk it out, you know, we talk it out to the point where we're like, okay, what's really going on here? Because our friendship and being able to be friends and share our professional joys with each other is more important to us than like never having like a bump
conflict, right? And we've had fights, like we've had like arguments, like we've gotten really mad at each other, but like we always, that's normal. Like, yeah, what friendship doesn't have those moments where you don't get along? So we've been friends for years. It would be unrealistic to say we've never had arguments about stuff, and like people just see like the funny times on Twitter, and I mean that's the majority of times, right? Like it's not like
it's the majority of times
every week, but we have had our moments. And like I think that what makes it important is like any other relationship, just because you're both in the same industry doesn't mean you still don't have to work on your friendship and your relationship and talk about things and be mature. I would say even more so, because you have this added layer, and it's like just because you're not calling it a competition to yourself doesn't mean that it's not. And if you're thinking these thoughts in your head about your friend and not being honest, you're still processing things in a way that makes it into like a weird competition. So you have to first and foremost like be honest with yourself about it, and be honest with your friend about like how you're feeling. And like you should be able to say like, hey, I feel shitty because like I feel like everyone's ahead of me right now, and like that is okay. That is totally okay. Like if any of my friends said that to me, I would sit there and like listen to them and talk to them, because I've been there. Like everybody that I know has been there at some point. And like you just have to be understanding of each other. And it can take a lot of like emotional bandwidth to like have brighter friends, because you're both going through the same things. And that's why, like Kat said, it's so important to check in before like you you talk about stuff, it's not good to like dump everything on someone right away, because we're both going through the same kinds of things all the time. So
Yeah.
that's our friendship tips.
Yeah, our friendship tips. And you know, Claribel and I also like we're obviously like super close with each other, so we have chats just the two of us, but we are also both part of groups together, like other groups of varying sizes, like anywhere from like, you know, 3 people in the chat to like, you know, 50-person Facebook group or whatever. And you know, and so the way that we talk to each other in each of those groups is different, because like sometimes our personal stuff with each other is just our personal stuff. Like no one else needs to be in that conversation. But sometimes if something comes up and it's a general, like I'll be like, Claribel, like, does it ever bother you that like this happens to you? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, I don't know, does it happen to other people? We're like, well, let's ask the group. Like, so
Right.
sometimes it is really situational. And I've also had conversations with friends where I'm like, this group chat of like, you know, I don't know, 15 people or whatever that I'm in is like stressing me out, but it's also because I'm on deadline, and it's also because family stuff is going on. I was like, so I think I'm just going to quietly take a break. I don't need to announce it. And so stepping back is always an option too. So like,
yeah.
I think that sometimes we are like so desperate to find friends. I know this conversation got off topic a little bit, but it's all about friendship. We're so desperate to find friends, and that's always the first step. But I think like the healthiest way to go about looking for friends is to know your limits, your needs, and what you want out of this friendship and these relationships.
Yeah.
Because I also have publishing acquaintances who are, our relationship is purely professional, and it works really well. So,
and you have to know the difference between both, because especially when you're venting about stuff, you know, an acquaintance is not necessarily going to keep that to themselves. But if you need to be petty, you need that like solid, like group chat, that solid like text thread, like with one person or one other, like 2 other people, that you're going to be able to be like, this is really bitchy, but this is how I'm feeling right now. Because otherwise what ends up happening is you put it on Twitter, and then you look like Boo Boo the Fool, like we've seen many people do in the past couple weeks. So you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I agree. But you know, find like, I know it feels lonely until you think you found those like really close one-on-one connections, but the community as a whole is also a valid way to find advice. It's like, it is going to be more generalized advice. It is going to be wider advice, and it is going to be a little bit of a crapshoot, because if you ask a question on Twitter, so many people will have different opinions. But it's still something you can utilize until you find your closed group. Like, you don't need to feel like you're alone until you find that like 1 to 5 people who get you. Like, you can still utilize the greater community. It's completely fine. So I think that it's important for us to like know where we are. That was such a vague thing I just said. I'm sorry.
It's important for us to know that the sky is blue.
Whatever, Claribel. This is how we record our podcast too, though, is that we'll go off on a like, I'm editing an episode right now, and the question was like about subtweeting, and then we started talking about professional jealousy, and then we started talking about like envy versus jealousy on a psychological level. It just got like really intense, but it's who we are.
What's wrong with it? It's because I drink too many White Claws during the recording, so I'm just on another level.
But you know, also I think it's important for us to know where we are. Yes, thank you, Mara. Mara appreciates me. I think the thing is that also sometimes you don't know what's bothering you until you like talk about it for 15 minutes. And I think that's you and me really well.
That's very true. Yep.
To a T. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for doing this Instagram live with me.
This was definitely chaotic. Thank you for inviting me. I had so much fun. It was really cool to do Truth or Dare for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll try to do another like similar game type thing. We're trying to, on Ride or Die, we're trying to play more like cool games.
Yeah.
Just to fun. Yeah, so
everybody go pick up Vicious Spirits And if you haven't bought Wicked Fox, you need to buy that one first because this is book 2. And definitely also go pick up Ghost Squad.
Yeah,
Get it,
find
get
the
it,
squad
get
com.
it, get it, get it,
Get
get
it,
it,
get
get it,
it,
get
mm,
it, get
mm,
it, get it,
mm,
get it, get it, get it.
Thank you everybody for coming. We really love you and appreciate you. And we can't wait to like your I farted tweets.
Yeah, we're gonna go like all of them right now. It's just gonna be yours and mine.
It's fine, it's fine. We're doing fine. Okay, bye everybody.